Well, I grew up in a family of entrepreneurs, actually. So I didn't have any naive ideas about how hard it actually is and how unpredictable it is. Because I think it's really easy for people to kind of, you know, what's the word? Like idolize it? No, I don't. They make it seem rosier than it actually is. So I actually did not want to be an entrepreneur because I saw that you work harder and it's more unpredictable and it's stressful. And so I started in corporate selling digital marketing for newspapers. And if you know anything, newspapers have really powerful digital assets, lots of
Mm.
website traffic, lots of emails. So I worked with all kinds of clients nationally, locally, $100,000 contracts, $500,000 contracts, $1 million contracts. And the thing is, like, any black sheep can relate to this. I just didn't fit in. Um, I'm a little, I'm a little like, hey, this could be better. What about this? And everyone's like, hey, we're just trying to get a paycheck. Can you not? Can you not like make us do more work? We just want to get in and get out and go home to our families. And nobody really cares. If anything, they care about social politics, which I'm also office politics, I mean, which I'm also very, very bad at. I'm just like transparent and direct and blunt, and all of these things have been told to me my whole life. So I started my own marketing agency, and I realized that it was a great experience because marketing very much relates to sales, and a lot of sales experts don't understand marketing and how that affects the conversation, the sales conversation that they have. So it was really valuable experience, and I also really missed sales. And it was kind of cool because in that corporate office, it's very different from the online marketing space. The online marketing space has some especially douchey tactics for sales that feel really uncomfortable and
Yeah.
aggressive. It would never fly in corporate. Like corporate would just laugh you out of a meeting. So I hadn't even heard about like the cost of inaction and digging into the pain and all this stuff until I got into the internet marketing space. So it was really great to have that previous experience and then also work with so many different types of clients and also see such a buffet of sales styles.
Mm.
Because since I was a digital specialist, I worked with teams of reps to go out with them on their client accounts. And I would see like all these different ways of selling and kind of like pick and choose what I liked and resonated with me. And so, whenever I started my marketing agency, I realized that a lot of business owners are amazing at what they do and horrible at sales. And at first, you have to sell your own service.
Yeah.
And it was like it's this huge sticking point that actually causes people to quit because they hate it so much. And
Mm.
the reason they hate it so much is that the only option offered is something that feels so out of alignment with them. It's like aggressive. They think they have to be extroverted, like they have to be some kind of high energy, smooth talker who's smiling all the time and always has the right thing to say. And so, over the past 5 years, I have really enjoyed letting people know that there's an alternative that
Yeah.
actually works better. And I was always what you call a natural at sales. So I was just always naturally really good at it. I didn't have to do any training. And there are other people who are natural at sales. And when you ask them, hey, like, what do you do? How do you sell so much? They're like, well, I don't really sell. And it's like, well, what the hell does that mean? And nobody really knows how to explain it. And the only reason I figured out how to put words to it is because I started training people in sales. And so the reason they say that they're not selling is because they're letting someone know that something's not a fit for them. So it'll be like, actually, I don't think you need this highest level tier of service. Like you'll be fine with the middle package. Or like, you know
Mm.
what? You actually don't need this service. You need this service over here with somebody else. And I would recommend doing that first and then coming back. And it's absolutely magnetic to buyers because they're like, oh my God, you actually care about my best interests the most. And they're going
Yeah.
to refer people and they're going to come back and they're going to find ways to work with you just because they know that you're not going to suggest something that's not in their best interests. And what it really comes down to is just actually caring about the other person. That's
Mm.
how people who are natural at sales are naturally good at it. They just genuinely care and are genuinely curious and are like, I don't want to sell you something you don't need. I just don't. However, there is a methodology to it now that I have
Yeah.
nailed down. And the philosophy is if it's a fit, it's a fact, and there's no selling involved.
That that reminds me a lot from some of the things that Bob mentioned in his book, The Go Giver, because,
Mhm.
he's the guy's like, well, why would I give my lead to somebody else? Right? We want to own everything, but the fact of the matter is, if you give it away, you're doing both parties a favor. Because, hey, my service is really high end, but why don't you start here? They're going to get you prepped so then you're ready to jump in, come back here, or, continue moving forward and growing.
Exactly. I mean, a good example is somebody who wants to do paid ads and doesn't have any kind of organic following.
Mm,
Paid ad agencies should say, like, you're not, we don't, this wouldn't be good for you unless you're able to, spend 3 months without results because we're testing messaging and
yeah.
audiences. But they
And the
don't.
organic
They
would
just
do that exactly same thing.
for for free. And so instead they're just selling them and it's very short-term thinking, right? So the person's going to leave. They're going to leave and they're going to be burned and they're going to be very resistant to ever doing it again or trusting anyone again. And
Yeah,
they're definitely not coming back and they're definitely not referring anybody.
that's really powerful. And I see that I mean, I'm starting to see what I've been missing in my sales process. I mean, I don't technically have a sales process. I'm just a podcaster here trying to provide a platform for other guests to be podcast guests and whatnot. And I was thinking that this would be a good model to kind of drive leads or drive sales. But I realized that I love doing the conversation. I love getting to know people's story. And yes, I can tell a person to change the look of their setup within just a few minutes of talking to them, like we did earlier today. Um,
Yes.
right? But I don't want to sell that. Like, but am I doing that as disservice to myself, or am I doing a disservice to my client? Like, talk to me about that perspective. Like, what did you notice, and what am I doing wrong?
So, I mean, the main thing is that you are scared to sell. You feel bad, which a lot of people do, right?
Right.
They feel like I'm going to offend this person, you
Mm,
know, or I'm going to repel them. They're not going to like it, that kind of a thing. And what you can do is just say, like, hey, like, obviously, you don't want to sell someone in this conversation, but you can
right.
say, hey, there are some things that we can do. Do you want to set up a call outside of this? And let's do them.
Yeah.
And they're going to say, yeah. And then you're going to set up that call and you're going to be like, yeah, there's more that we can do. And can you see what a difference this makes? And you really need to connect the dots for them too. So I actually connected the dot for you, Junaid.
Mm-hmm.
I said, oh, yeah, people are going to trust me so much more now that I have good lighting. And
Mm-hmm.
there's all these subconscious details that add up. So I connected that dot for you because this is what I do for a living. Other people
Exactly.
are not going to connect that dot, that
Yeah.
these little details add up to trust, to raising your prices, to
Mm,
making more sales, to credibility, to shorter sales timelines. And so you have to point those things out to them and say, do you see the difference? And these little details may seem silly to have your eyes at this line, but people are processing, like 90% of the processing going on in any conversation is nonverbal.
mm-hmm.
And so these things do add up. Is
Yeah.
that something that you want to have going in your favor? Because
Yeah.
I have a package. Would you want to know what that looks like? Da, 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 da. So it's really
Yeah.
connecting the dots for them after the value and like letting them know what the end result could be from that. And of course, there's more to it. Like you
Of
want to
course.
ask some questions to understand like what's going on before
What are
just
they actually trying
blindly
to do
saying
with
that.
this? Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, does that
No, that
different?
definitely answers a lot of the questions that I had in my mind, and answers the thoughts I had in my mind. Like, hey, what's the next step? I'm doing all of these things in the right order, but I'm missing some of the things, and so you help fill that gap. So thank you so much. Now, you've recently published a book, The Black Sheep Sales Method. I want to ask, why not an ugly duckling over a black sheep?
Well, I think that an ugly duckling is kind of like subjective, like it's an opinion, you know?
Mm,
A black
that is
sheep is a,
true. Yeah, because that
yeah,
was a swan, and they thought it was a duck, but it was actually a swan.
yeah. But like the whole thing was that it was ugly, right? So, I
Mm,
mean, I guess, yeah, I didn't even think about the extra layer there. It's like, you're really a swan. I mean, I don't want to make people feel like they have to be anything different than they are. That ugly duckling, if it's a swan, it's like, oh, don't worry, you're not an ugly duckling, you're a
right.
swan. But like a black sheep is an actual occurring thing in nature.
Mm,
And it's also got such a negative connotation. And I'm the black sheep in my family. And I was talking to my a client. I've over the past 5 years, I have tried to figure out who my audience is, right? Like everybody's always trying to figure out who exactly is it. And I tried
mm,
introverts for a while, but it didn't quite click because some people don't realize they're introverts because they think it's about being shy. And so I had like matchmaker sales method for a while, but that like doesn't quite hit either. I mean, that's just not sexy at all, even though if it's a fit, it's a fact and there's no selling involved.